If you're over 60 and someone in your kitchen right now has a jar of garlic sitting there, don't throw it away after this video, because in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you something my own grandmother taught me 30 years ago, something I didn't believe until I saw it with my own eyes in my clinic in Virginia. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why people in Okinawa, Japan, and certain villages in China live past 90, sharp-minded, walking without a cane, and it has a lot to do with one small, smelly little bulb that's probably sitting in your pantry right now. Stay with me until the end, because around minute 10, I'm going to share the one mistake almost everyone makes with garlic that cancels out nearly all of its benefits. My name is Dr. Anderson Coco. I've spent almost 20 years working with seniors here in Virginia, helping them age not just longer, but better. Stronger joints, clearer minds, fewer pills on the kitchen counter. And in all these years, there's one thing I keep coming back to, one thing that shows up again and again in the healthiest, sharpest, most independent people I've ever treated: garlic. Now stay with me, because I know what you're thinking. Doctor, my grandmother put garlic in everything, and she still needed a hip replacement. Fair enough. But there's a difference between eating garlic on your pasta once a week and actually using it the right way, at the right time, in the right amount for what your body needs after 60. That's what I want to walk you through today. Real experience, real routine, nothing you'll find printed on the back of a supplement bottle. Let's go back 4,000 years. That's not an exaggeration. Garlic was found in the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs, placed there because it was believed to protect and strengthen the body, even in the afterlife. The workers who built the pyramids were given garlic daily because it was believed to give them strength and stamina for that brutal labor. Historical records even suggest that when the garlic supply was delayed once, the workers went on strike. Think about that. 4,000 years ago, human beings understood the value of this plant well enough to stop working over it. Ancient Greek Olympic athletes chewed on raw garlic before competing, believing it gave them an edge in strength and endurance. Roman soldiers carried it into battle, tucked into their rations alongside bread and wine. This wasn't superstition. These civilizations, without laboratories, without blood tests, figured out through pure observation that garlic did something to the human body that made people stronger, more resilient, and able to fight off illness. And here's the part that really changed how I think about aging. In Japan, particularly in Okinawa, one of the 5 blue zones in the world where people regularly live past 100, garlic and its cousin, the scallion, show up in meals almost every single day, not as a garnish, as a core part of the diet. In parts of rural China, the same pattern. Villages with unusually high numbers of centenarians, people over 100 years old, still gardening, still walking to the market, still mentally present. And when researchers looked at what these populations had in common, garlic consumption was one of the threads that kept appearing, alongside daily movement, strong community ties, and diets built around vegetables rather than processed food. I remember visiting a conference years ago where a colleague who had studied these blue zone communities firsthand told me something I never forgot. She said the elders there didn't think of garlic as medicine. To them, it was just dinner. It was normal. It wasn't a trend. It wasn't a supplement aisle purchase. It was simply how food had always been made. And I think that's exactly the mindset we've lost here in the West. We've turned health into something complicated, something you buy in a bottle, when sometimes the answer really has been sitting in the kitchen the whole time. Now let me pause here because I promised you I'd tell you what garlic actually does, not just old stories. Let me break this down the way I explain it to my own patients, one piece at a time. First, garlic contains a compound called allicin. This only forms when you crush or chop raw garlic, and it's the reason garlic has that strong smell. Allicin has been studied for its effect on blood pressure. For many people over 60, especially if you're already managing mild high blood pressure, garlic has shown in research to help relax and widen blood vessels, which can support healthier circulation. I've had patients tell me their home blood pressure readings improved slightly after consistently adding raw garlic to their diet over a few months. I'm not saying throw away your medication. Never do that without talking to your doctor first. But as a support, alongside what your physician has already prescribed, it's worth understanding. Now let's talk about the sugar question, because I know a lot of you watching are either managing blood sugar yourselves or you're worried about a spouse or a parent who is. Garlic has been researched for its potential to help support healthy insulin sensitivity, meaning your body's ability to use the sugar in your bloodstream more effectively. It's not a replacement for diabetes medication. I want to be very clear about that. But as part of an overall diet, especially when you replace something like a starchy side dish with a garlic-heavy vegetable dish, it can be a small piece of a bigger, smarter puzzle. I had a patient, I'll call him Frank, 69 years old, retired school teacher from just outside Roanoke. Frank came in frustrated because his fasting blood sugar numbers kept creeping up year after year, and he felt like nothing he did made a difference. We didn't overhaul his whole diet overnight. That rarely works, and it rarely lasts. Instead, we made small changes, and one of them was replacing white rice a few nights a week with a sautéed vegetable mix heavy on garlic and onion. 9 months later, his numbers had improved enough that his own doctor commented on it at his checkup. Again, I want to be honest with you, that wasn't garlic alone. It was part of a bigger pattern of change. But garlic was one piece he kept coming back to as something simple he could stick with. Second, and this is something I really want you to remember, garlic supports your immune system. As we age, our immune response naturally slows down a little. That's just biology. It's why a cold can knock you down for 2 weeks instead of 2 days like it used to, and why it seems to take longer to bounce back from every little bug going around. Garlic has natural compounds that researchers believe help support white blood cell activity, essentially helping your body's own defense system respond a little faster and a little stronger. Third, and this one surprises people, garlic and joint health. I've had patients in their 70s tell me that after adding raw garlic consistently to their meals, they noticed less stiffness in the mornings. Now, I always tell them, that's not going to reverse arthritis, and I'll never promise you something like that. But garlic has natural anti-inflammatory properties, and inflammation is a big part of what makes joints feel stiff and achy as we get older. Less inflammation, even a small reduction, can mean the difference between struggling to get out of bed and standing up with a little more ease. Now here's that mistake I promised to tell you about, the one that quietly cancels out most of garlic's benefits for people who think they're doing everything right. Do not swallow a garlic clove whole like a pill. I've seen people do this, thinking they're being efficient. It does almost nothing because the clove needs to be crushed or chopped to activate that allicin compound I mentioned earlier. Whole, uncrushed garlic just passes through your system without triggering that chemical reaction. Here's what I tell my patients to do instead, and I want you to really pay attention to this part because it's the difference between garlic doing something for your body and garlic doing almost nothing at all. Take 1 to 2 fresh garlic cloves, crush them with the flat side of a knife or mince them finely. Then let it sit for about 10 minutes before you cook it or eat it. This resting time allows the allicin to fully form. If you cook garlic immediately after chopping it, you lose a lot of that benefit, because heat can break down allicin before it's had time to develop. So chop it, let it rest, then use it in your cooking, or even stir it into a little olive oil with lemon. For those of you who don't mind a stronger taste, some of my patients eat 1 small raw minced clove, mixed into a spoonful of honey each morning. It's strong, I won't lie to you. Your eyes might water the first few times. But they swear by it, and there is real tradition behind that combination going back centuries in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, where garlic and honey were often kept together as a household staple through the winter months. If raw garlic is too much for your stomach, and for some people it genuinely is, especially if you have acid reflux or a sensitive digestive system, then roasted garlic is a wonderful, gentler alternative. Wrap a whole bulb in foil with a little olive oil, roast it at around 400 degrees for 40 minutes, and it becomes soft, sweet, and easy to spread on whole grain toast or stir into soup. It loses a little of the raw potency, but for many of my patients, it's a sustainable way to include garlic daily without any discomfort. Now, a word of caution, because I always want to give you the full picture, not just the highlight reel. If you are on blood-thinning medication, like warfarin, or if you have a surgery coming up, please talk to your doctor before significantly increasing your garlic intake, because garlic does have a mild, natural blood-thinning effect. This is exactly why I keep saying, this is not medical advice to replace your doctor. This is education. This is what I've observed and what the research shows, but your own physician knows your full history and your current medications, and that conversation should always come first. I think about my patient Eleanor, 78 years old, lives about 40 minutes outside Richmond. She came to me frustrated because she felt like she was constantly getting sick every winter, one cold after another, barely recovering before the next one hit. It had gotten to the point where she was hesitant to even see her grandchildren during flu season, afraid of catching something. We talked about her diet, and I suggested she start incorporating fresh garlic daily, the way I just described, along with a few other small changes to her routine. 6 months later, she told me it was the first winter in years she didn't get seriously sick, and she was able to spend the holidays with her family without that constant worry hanging over her. Now, I can't promise you that exact result. Everybody's body is different, but I share that story because it's real. It's from my own practice, and it's the kind of change I see often enough that I keep recommending it. If you're finding this helpful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because every single week I'm sharing exactly this kind of real, practical guidance for aging well, not fluff, not fear-mongering, just what I've learned in 20 years of caring for people exactly like you. And drop a comment below telling me, does anyone else in your family use garlic the way their grandparents did? I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing your stories. They often remind me of my own family's kitchen growing up. Before we wrap up, let me give you one more tip, because I think this is the piece most people miss entirely. Garlic works best not as a single miracle food, but as part of a pattern. Pair it with foods your body already knows how to use well. Olive oil, leafy greens, fatty fish like salmon. This is essentially the same pattern we see in those blue zone communities I mentioned earlier, where garlic isn't a supplement you take once and forget about. It's woven into daily life, daily meals, daily habits, alongside movement, sleep, and community. So here's my challenge for you this week. Just once a day, add one fresh, properly crushed clove of garlic into something you're already cooking. Not a pill, not a capsule. The real thing. And give it 30 days. Pay attention to how you feel, your energy, your digestion, even your resistance to that office cold going around, or the one your grandkids bring home from school. If you want more of this kind of guidance, real routines, real experience, not gimmicks, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video, where we're going to talk about something that surprised me even more than garlic did, something almost nobody over 60 is doing, and it could be the missing piece in your entire daily routine. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.